Hello, my name is Jordan Wellings, and for my final speech to inform, I will be doing it on how COVID-19 has affected college campuses nationwide. Now, in the beginning of the school year back in August, we found out that there was going to be three ways for us to go back to school. The first being we could return to in-class learning, but we would have to wear a mask and be more spread out, and the class sizes would be smaller. The second option would be going back to online classes, which are just classes on the internet that you can do any time of the day. Now, the third option, which is the most riskiest of the options, would be doing hybrid classes. Hybrid classes are a mix between online class learning and in-class class learning. Now, when these plans came out, Chronicle, the newspaper, did a survey on 1,100 schools, and they found out that 60% of those 1,100 schools will be returning to in-class learning, while only 24% of those schools will be doing online class learning, and 9% of those schools will be doing hybrid class learning. Now, William Hannage, who is a reporter for the New York Times, did an article about the main problem with these plans, and he found out that the main problem with these plans is that they aren't meant to stop the spread of the virus. They're just meant to contain and control the virus. And what that means is that they basically don't have any control on what the student does off campus. So they don't know where they're going to go, who they're going to meet with, or what they're going to do. And as a result of that, the COVID-19 has not stopped spreading on campuses and has in fact infected more than 252,000 people, as well as killed around 80 people. And this was reported by the New York Times on November 13th. Now, a major consequence of COVID-19 being on the actual campus itself is the cancellation or postponement of college fall sports. And the cancellation doesn't just hurt college fans or college players, it mainly hurts the college itself. The reason is because most of these big-time sports programs at these colleges, like UGA or Alabama or Kentucky, they put a lot of their money into improving their sports programs. So that way they can get a lot of money back. Because, who doesn't love the Bulldogs? Well, an article by Mark Budd, who is another reporter for the New York Times, said that if they did decide to cancel the Big Ten football conference, which they did, then that would mean that those schools would lose around $275 million in ticket revenue and also $1 billion in total lost revenue, such as sports finalia, food, drinks for the games. And a major result of these colleges not having fans is that these neighboring towns who have built up their communities to go along with these college sports programs, that problem is they don't have any source of income because there are no fans going to the games. And if there's no fans, then they aren't stopping by the neighboring towns, and therefore they're not getting their normal source of income that they would normally be getting. And as a result, they're losing their homes, businesses, and jobs. And that brings me to a major consequence of COVID-19, and that would be when COVID-19 hit our country, it made us shut down like everything. So as a result of that, we lost millions of people to unemployed. And that unemployed number is the biggest number since the Great Depression. And a consequence of people being unemployed is they don't have financial resources to send their families to school or themselves to school. And what our government did to combat that is they made a program called the CARE Act. And what the CARE Act does is it makes it to the point where schools and universities have the option to divide up student grants and loans to different students. And what that money will do for the students is it provides them an extra cushion for room to basically spend that money on whatever they want. So they could spend the money on food, clothing, housing, healthcare, or even child support. And that makes it to the point where the students who might have families don't have to worry about spending extra time on their jobs, and instead only have to worry about learning and improving their education so they can have a brighter future. Now, COVID isn't just affecting student learning and the campus itself. It's having a major impact on student lives. And what I mean by that is students they have to wear masks constantly. They have to wear it either when they're in a class or outside of class. They can't be more than 6 feet apart from people, and they also can't be in groups larger than 2 or 3. And a problem with not being in a large group is that students don't have the option to do like a group study or like learn from their fellow classmates. Now, a big concern with COVID and campuses nationwide is now that COVID's here and we have to social distance, we no longer have open borders. So there are no foreign exchange programs, and if you were a foreign exchange student last year, more than likely you're still here because the borders aren't open and you can't cross them. And that goes for both ways. So if you're a U.S. student who wants to go to Germany or France to do international league school there, you can't because the borders are still closed. Now, a really big recent concern with COVID this year, more particularly this month, is how do we get students to not spread the COVID when they're returning to their homes during Thanksgiving and Christmas break? And what they have realized is there are really 2 options, right? You can take the chance and hopefully the COVID won't spread to their families and hopefully they'll quarantine the right way. Or the second option is you could have the ability to stay home for Thanksgiving break and quarantine there, but you won't be able to visit your family. So COVID-19 has affected college campuses, whether it's directly or indirectly, but what we do know is that these changes will probably stay because there has been some improvements to college campuses nationwide.